Thank you all for coming. It means a great deal. Most importantly, to those we serve, your presence here is testimony to your support of parents and their empowerment. Today is a very special day for us. We're honored by the presence of a very, very special lady. I'm first going to read from a portion of Secretary Devos' bio, and then I want to make a few personal observations. Betsy Devos is a graduate of Calvin College in Grand Rapids, Michigan, where she earned a Bachelor of Arts degree. She's married to entrepreneur, philanthropist, community activist Dick Devos, and together they have 4 children and 7 grandchildren. Betsy Devos serves as the 11th U.S. Secretary of Education. She was confirmed by the United States Senate on February 7th, 2017, after being nominated by President Donald Trump. Her interest in education was sparked at an early age by her mother, a public school teacher. It grew when she sent her own children to school and was confronted with the reality that not every child in America is granted an equal opportunity to receive a great education. For 15 years, she served as an in-school mentor for at-risk children in the Grand Rapids public schools. Her interactions there with students, families, and teachers, according to her, quote, changed my life and my perspective about education forever. Now I'd like to share a couple of personal observations and experiences. It's been my privilege to work with Betsy for many, many years and to be friends with both she and her husband, Dick. They have a lifelong dedication to providing quality education for all kids, not just hers. She's a giver. Nothing in return except the inner satisfaction that comes from helping others. Betsy is bright, thoughtful, strategic, courageous, focused. What you will never see in the news, but what those of us who know her and admire her what we admire in her are her extraordinary generosity, humanity, compassion, and concern for those less fortunate. She just doesn't talk it, she walks it. She has soul. Betsy Devos is the epitome of being a servant leader. Often said that one is best defined by his or her critics and adversaries. Betsy has a blue ribbon list of those, including U.S. senators, teachers, union spokespeople, a few of whom you drove past this morning, and media talking heads. But those naysayers don't hold a candle to her fans, supporters, and admirers, 400 of whom are in this room today. Most importantly, there are families across our country whose lives have been enriched and in many ways saved by the caring concern she has provided to those in need. Please just consider that Betsy and her husband Dick have provided scholarships for disadvantaged families in Michigan for decades. Betsy's whole focus is on finding ways to help underserved kids in failing schools, most of whom are in low socioeconomic neighborhoods and most of whom are ethnic and minority, by empowering their parents with respect, dignity, and choices. Betsy believes that low-income parents are the ones most qualified to choose what is best for their children, not bureaucrats. She believes parents. She trusts them. She respects them. And she will continue to battle for them in spite of the vicious, mean-spirited, and totally unjustified attacks against her. While her attackers continue their crusade, they do not distract or divert Betsy Devos from hers. Hers is to continue to be our nation's leading voice and activist in support of quality education for all kids. Betsy Devos believes in what our late mutual friend John Walton said about school choice: let 1,000 flowers bloom. Thanks to Secretary of Education Betsy DeVos's persistence and courage, those seeds are now being planted and will soon be blooming. Ladies and gentlemen, the 11th Secretary of Education, United States, Betsy DeVos.
It really is great to be here with you and with Joyce and to see you again. I'm so pleased to join you in marking 20 years of bringing families and communities together through Parents Challenge. I'm going to just take one time out here a moment and say, please, if you have not started your lunch, please do so. Okay? It is such a pleasure to be here with you today, and I'm very grateful to all those in this room who have supported Parents Challenge, and therefore the families and the students that have been empowered through your work. The Shucks saw needs in this community. Too many students limited by the school to which they were assigned, and too many parents unempowered in their role as primary educators. So they did something about it. They founded Parents Challenge to open up those opportunities for students and their families right around them. Your work together serves as an important reminder that the best solutions to what limits students are not developed in distant capital by politicians. Solutions that work are developed at kitchen tables, or between neighbors, or in houses of worship, or in town halls. Parents Challenge has empowered over 2,000 low-income students with almost $2 million to pursue education that works for them. As Steve has said, Parents Challenge is not a philanthropy, it's a partnership. It cultivates relationships and equips parents to make informed decisions so they can remain intimately involved in each step of their child's lifelong learning journey. I enjoyed learning about the Torres family. Yesenia and Victor Torres raised their 5 children to appreciate the importance of education. So they were especially frustrated to watch them fall behind in their assigned school. But Parents Challenge came alongside them. Through financial support and programs like parent advocacy sessions, Yesenia and Victor are better advocates and more effective guides for their children. Today, all the Torres children are excelling in their new learning environments, and 3 have already earned prestigious scholarships for college. Stories like the Torres families remind me of the importance of our cause and why I do what I do. As Steve said, I've spent more than 30 years fighting alongside you for our nation's students, and I'm not done yet. I hope you've seen our Education Freedom Scholarships proposal. It's exciting and transformative. It's the biggest, boldest plan yet for students. It's a federal tax credit that doesn't grow the federal government in any way. Instead, it fuels states to develop more opportunities for their students. I believe education freedom is the most meaningful way we can improve student achievement in this country. You've already taken many steps to expand that freedom here in Colorado. In 1993, your state expanded education freedom for its students by passing the first charter school law. As initial resistance to the law went away, the number of charter schools began to grow. And yet there are still 24,000 students on wait lists for charter schools in Colorado alone, and more than 1 million across the nation. Another important mechanism for freedom for students is open enrollment. Over 16% of Colorado's traditional public school children cross neighborhood or district lines to attend a school other than the one to which they were assigned. We know more families would make similar choices if only they had better access to open enrollment information for their children. Students here and everywhere need more education freedom. For folks in Colorado, our proposal could open up nearly $60 million in additional funding annually, funding for students and scholarships, not buildings. These scholarships could be used for preschool, for tutoring, for career and technical education, for dual enrollment, transportation to a different public school or other school. These are only a few examples of how states could choose to support education freedom. Parents' Challenge has shown how effectively this can be done. Rather than directing students to one type of school or another, you let parents choose and you do what you can to support them. Whether they decide to put those resources toward public school, private school, public charter school, vocational school, or somewhere else, the choice belongs to them. Similarly, our proposal isn't about pitting one type of school against another. It's about empowering parents and families to make choices previously available only to the wealthy, the powerful, and the well-connected. Our proposal is different because education freedom is not just another policy or white paper. It's an imperative. Right now, education freedom is available to some in this country. It's time that it be available to all. If we embrace education freedom, every student can pursue an education that best aligns with their talents, their interests, their passions, and their purpose. By your example, you have issued a challenge to the rest of Colorado and to the rest of the country. Do more for students and fight for freedom for all students. So congratulations. I'm excited to see the freedom that the next 20 years will bring. Thank you, and I'm looking forward to our conversation here.
Very, very energetic twins, and I'm not sure whether they're going to stay with us or not, but they're up here with her now. She's from a private school, Colorado Christian School, and we're going to have what's going to be called a fireside chat. Now, I think you're going to have to visualize the fireside yourself, but we're going to have a dialogue around education choice here.
Okay, so this gives us an opportunity to hear from parents and students, certainly, if they want to chime in, they've got something to offer. We're always welcome to hear from students, but an opportunity also for the secretary to be able to respond to some of the questions that these parents have. So we're going to start off by just asking both parents to tell us, what does school choice mean to you?
Good afternoon. I'm Andriana Romero. These are my daughters. This is Angela and Alana, soon to be a 7th grader and soon to be a 5th grader. What choice means to me is having the opportunity to be able to expose my children to an environment where they can be supported and prepared spiritually, personally, and academically to really motivate and empower them all the way through college.
Good afternoon. How are y'all doing? All right. I'm Earl Roberson. These are my children, Zylan and Sakai. They're twins. Say hi. School choice for our family is pretty much the sole choice that we can ever pick what school we like our kids to attend.
And it's also about giving our children the opportunity to be involved in school and not have to worry about our financial situation or wherever we're staying. It gives us an opportunity and the freedom and the power to make sure our children choose the best school for them and for their success.
So these parents have been involved with Parents Challenge, and that's pretty much what we do, is that we assist parents in deciding what educational choice works for them. And I know with Andriana, her daughters were at traditional public school at one point. Things were not working as she would have liked, and so she then began to search out some options, and they're now attending a private school. And I know the Robersons were at a charter school, and that was not working for their sons, and they then began to search out, and they're now at a traditional public school. So that's really what choice is all about, is the fact that if something's not working for you or your child's not thriving, then begin to look for other options, because there are tons and tons of them, certainly here in the El Paso County area. Certainly, as the Secretary stated, it's not nationwide, and we would love for that to be the case. But we're enjoying some of the benefits here in Colorado. So
Deborah, could I just interject one
Absolutely.
moment, please? Because I know we use the term school choice interchangeably with the term I like to use, which is education freedom. And I just want to take just 1 second to make sure that we're talking about the same thing, but I like education freedom because it opens up our vision about what education can be beyond buildings. And so when I say education freedom, please know that we are talking about the very same thing as what you all have alluded to as school choice, making the right choice for your kids.
So we're going to allow the parents to ask some questions of the Secretary, and we'll start off with Andrew.
So, why is choice or freedom so important in today's society?
Well, we know that there are too many kids today who are in schools that they're assigned to that don't have any other options or choices. And every year that they are forced to go to a school that isn't working for them takes something away from them, personally and corporately, right? If you're not going to develop as you should or as you have the potential to, we need to free students up to be able to do that, and that requires giving all parents the power to do that with the funds that are traditionally invested in their child. Instead of going to a system or a building, funds should go to families, to parents, to empower them to make those choices that are right for each of their kids. As I mentioned in my remarks, there are a lot of people in this country who have that opportunity today because they have the resources, the finances to make other choices. But it's simply not right for not all families and all parents to have those kinds of choices.
What can we do for our friends now to get the best possible education for our kids?
It's important that parents find their voices and know that their voices can and should be raised to advocate on behalf of their kids. And you're doing that with and through Parents Challenge. And I encourage all parents to know that you are the best advocates for your kids. And others are going to come alongside you and help you in that. I applaud all of the elected officials who are here today and for your support of parents' abilities to make these choices for their kids. We need to convince more elected officials that this is the right thing. It's the right thing for our children, and it's the right thing for our nation's future.
Should there be limits to educational school choice options?
I don't think there should be limits. What we should expect is that there are high quality options for all kids, and when people are empowered to make decisions and make choices, they do so with that expectation in mind. No parent is going to say, oh, I'm going to send my child to a school that I know is going to do a really bad job for my kids, given the choice, right? There are too many parents who have to do that today because they are assigned to a school and they don't have the option to move somewhere else or do something else. But what we should expect is a lot of really high quality, different kinds of choices that can look very different from one another, right? Students are all different. They learn differently. They get excited about different things, and being able to tap into the passion and interest and purpose for every student is the challenge for educators and education. And we have for too long approached education, particularly K-12 education, as more of a one-size-fits-all approach. And the world has changed drastically, and it's time that education take its place with the kinds of options and opportunities that we really need for all of our kids to be successful in the future. You know, there are over 8 million jobs going unfilled today in the United States. The economy is on fire. We want to make sure that kids are prepared, students are prepared for those opportunities and what comes next. Because children in kindergarten today can look forward to graduating high school to a world where the prediction is 85% of the jobs have not yet been created. So we need to make sure that every student has the opportunity to become fully developed for him or herself.
So there's a statistic that says children are 10% of our population, but they're 100% of our future. And that ties directly into what you just said.
How should parents engage in education reform efforts?
Well, again, I think it's really, really important for parents to raise their voices and to advocate on behalf of their own children, to band together with other parents who want the same thing, want the best for their kids, and to join up with legislators who ultimately have to make the difference with policy, because it's policies that are ultimately going to allow this to happen. And we need to convince the policy makers that they should be acting in the best interests of all children. And you have been very effective with Parents Challenge in continuing to make great progress here in Colorado. I talked about the Education Freedom Scholarships proposal, which is a proposal at the federal level. It's been introduced into both chambers of the legislature, and we need to find additional support. We need to develop additional support to make sure that this opportunity comes to pass. Think about what Colorado would be able to do with another $60 million a year to go directly into scholarships for kids to find the right place for their education. We believe this will be a game changer. It's a policy that needs to have support, and it will be enacted if parents and those who know that this is the right thing for kids get together and decide to make it happen.
So I have a question for all three of you, and that is, if you could make a change or recommend a solution to improve our education system, what would that be? And so we'll start with you guys.
To improve our education system, I think it really starts with the schools, individual schools, going above and beyond as far as expectations on how they should teach our children. And I believe that starts with outstanding curriculum, and then it goes into hiring standards and pay increases to teachers. I feel as if the teachers get involved with the parents and the school systems, then it would help improve our educational system.
How do we make that happen? How do we get parents to get engaged at that level? Beyond just the PTO selling cookies and all of that.
I think it needs to go, it starts with Parents Challenge here, I believe, in Colorado Springs, and really getting parents involved and educating them. Because I didn't know about being able to advocate for my own children as far as where I should be able to send them. And so it starts with having an honest discussion and a real heart-to-heart with parents, letting them know that your children can go elsewhere. They don't have to be stuck in the school district that they live in. They don't have to be confined to where city lines say they should go. And so it really starts with educating the public and parents on what education freedom is and school choices.
Yeah, to piggyback off of that, for me, it's breaking it down really simple. It's just building awareness. Having awareness for parents and families and students, messaging that is very clear and articulate, that tells a story, making a connection and making sure that it gives those parents and families and students something that they can relate to, something that they can understand, because I think a lot of that is intimidation of when you talk about policies and you talk about bigger, broader things. But in the context of, at dinner time, what are you talking about? You're not talking about policy, ... It's making and telling a story and making it pretty clear that any educational goal is obtainable and that anything that you do is possible, as long as you clearly understand that there's other people who went through struggles, other people who had to ask questions. So I think it's just that simple awareness, talking about it, being open about it, and like I said, messaging that's clear so that people can understand and accept it.
Well, I couldn't agree with you more on your perspectives on that. And it really does come back to, first of all, being empowered with that kind of freedom, but then knowing that you have that power. And then having lots of information that is accessible, as you said, and is relevant to your needs to be able to make those right decisions. And as with freedom in any other situation or setting, with freedom come more choices, and with more choices comes more quality. And we need to have expectations that every educational setting, no matter where it is, no matter what kind of word, what descriptor goes before school, that the expectation is this is going to be an excellent place for whatever students this place is serving, and it's going to be the right fit for the students who are there. But it all, in my view, all comes back to first having that freedom to be able to make those kinds of choices, and then having the information to be able to access them.
So, one of the things that is just wonderful in terms of the parents that we interface or we work with is that they're across all spectrums. So we have families that are our traditional public schools. So we're not against public schools. We want to make sure people understand that. We're just saying that it's still a parent's decision to choose. We're for families that want charter public, and we're for families that homeschool, or families who do online or choose private schools. So we just want to make sure that parents understand that it is your decision, and there are so many options out there that are available. So I would like to ask in the audience all of those families that are part of Parents Challenge to please stand.
Thank you for what you do for kids, and thank you for how you help us. Our success, which we like to call it success, it's got to be bigger, but it's success, is a direct result of the dedication of Deborah Hendricks. And she's a powerful, strong leader, tireless, and always focused on more and better ways to always serve parents and children. And Deborah and her very able assistant, Catherine, deserve a round of applause. I'd also like to give a special thank you to our Secretary of Education for all she's doing for America, as well as honoring us by being here. Thank you. Before I allow Steve to talk, if I could borrow a phrase from our younger generation, who BTW know everything. Betsy, you rock.
She doesn't let me talk very often, so buckle up. I'd like to echo Joyce's comments about our board. They work hard, they make a difference, and we're very, very grateful to them and thank them for their service and contribution. I'd also like to echo her comments about Deborah and Catherine. We are the most fortunate organization in this community and maybe in the whole country to have her leadership and her dedication. She is very, very strong, tireless, just does a fabulous job. She has brought great creativity to the program, and we are just very, very fortunate, as are all the families we serve, that Deborah and Catherine are running this program. So thank you, Deborah. And with Deborah and Catherine is Peter Droege, from Denver, does a great job for us. I want to thank Mayor Suthers, not only for his comments about school choice, but for his leadership in the community. We too are, as a community, are very, very blessed by his leadership, and thank you very much, John. I also want to thank Jonathan Berg and the entire James Irwin team. Have been great hosts for us to make this all possible, and most importantly, they do a great job all year long educating kids. I'd like to thank all the Parents Challenge volunteers and those who helped make this event possible. I also want to thank, you'll see on your table a schedule of our parental empowerment sessions. We run about 15 or 20 sessions during the school year, and the people who conduct those sessions, the facilitators, the leaders of those discussions, all volunteer their time, and we're very, very grateful to them, and we thank them as well. I want to thank the donors, whether you give $100,000 or $100, you make the difference. You're the engine that makes this program work. I want to recognize Evelyn Taylor. When we started this program 20 years ago, we had no idea where we were going. Evelyn was our first executive director. Her sister is right here, Vanessa. Evelyn couldn't be with us today, but I want to recognize the tremendous contribution she made getting us launched. I want to thank the parents, all of you who are here, and all the parents who are part of the program. It is you for whom this effort exists, and you do your part all the time, going to meetings. You do student journals, you're activists, so you're players. And as was said earlier, you're partners in this undertaking, not just beneficiaries. I want to offer a special thanks to Randy Cabero. Randy, retired General, United States Air Force Academy. He ran the program for 2 years before Deborah came. He and his team did it pro bono. We would not be where we are today were it not for his leadership, so I'm very grateful to Randy and his wife Jan, who puts up with him. Thanks to Paul Lundeen for doing the formalities today. You know, politicians, they're like diapers. They should be changed often and for the very same reason. You didn't let me finish. Fortunately, he's a statesman, not a politician. Over 50 years ago, Milton Friedman responded to the declining and increasingly disappointing results being produced by the public education system. He proposed breaking up the public school monopoly by transferring power and control over education decisions from providers to consumers, from the blob to parents. He wanted a marketplace that empowered customers who, in the case of education, would force schools to compete for students, allowing Adam Smith's invisible hand to do its magic, generating better results at a lower cost, the same as it does in every other aspect of our society. About 35 years ago, one of Secretary Devos' predecessors, Secretary of Education Terrence Bell, appointed by President Reagan, said the following in his National Commission on Excellence in Education report called A Nation at Risk. 35 years ago, he said, quote, "The educational foundations of our society are presently being eroded by a rising tide of mediocrity that threatens our very future as a nation and a people. What was unimaginable a generation ago has begun to occur. Others are matching and surpassing our educational attainments. If an unfriendly foreign power had attempted to impose on America the mediocre educational performance that exists today, we might well have viewed it as an act of war." Close quotes. Today, 36 years later, things haven't changed. No, that's not correct. Tragically, they've gotten worse. Parents' Challenge was created 20 years ago to do something, to take action that would improve lives by improving academic results, not waiting for others to do it. How? By empowering parents with the information and private financial resources to choose the schools they think are best for their children. Almost every failing school is in a low socioeconomic neighborhood. In Colorado Springs, that means east of Nevada Avenue and south of Highway 24. Several schools in that quadrant had and still have proficiency rates below 30%, meaning 7 out of 10 students are not functioning at grade level. And test scores tell us the longer they stay in those schools, the more they fall behind. So we decided to empower low-income parents, those who qualify for free and reduced lunch, those whose kids are assigned to the worst performing schools, with resources so they could choose the schools they think would be better for their children. To our detractors, like those hypocrites demonstrating outside the street, My question is this: will you volunteer to send your kids to the same schools that you want to prevent Parents Challenge families from escaping? Tell me again why anybody would protest providing additional choices to disadvantaged parents whose children are trapped in schools that do not work for them. Parents Challenge is made possible through the generosity of over 200 donors, including many of you here today and many who could not join us. Parents Challenge has but one goal, one North Star. It is to empower parents with choice. We are agnostic about what choices they make. We support whatever choices they make, be it traditional, public, charter public, private, or home. Some of our parents, as Deborah said, some of our parents have their kids in different types of schools. One in a public, another of their children in a homeschool. We support parents in whatever choices they make. We are proud to be the only privately funded scholarship program in the country that does two things. One, we support parents who choose to send their kids to public schools. And as Secretary Devos said, that should be a choice they make. Nobody should be making it for them. And number two, we conduct 15, 20 parental empowerment mentoring sessions each school year, as I mentioned earlier. And last year's calendar is on your table. Please take a look at it and see the subjects that are addressed. Every one of those subjects that we address in those sessions is identified by the parents themselves who tell us what they would like us to cover. So, very, very responsive. They're open to the public, free meals, and free childcare. Make it as easy as possible for everybody to participate. More details about everything Parents Challenge does can be found in the materials on your table, as well as on our website. Because Parents Challenge is so unique, other concerned private citizens around the country have asked us to make this program available in their communities. If there's someone in your network who might be interested, please just let us know. We are also proud that Parents Challenge is a living, successful example and model of what is in the legislation Secretary Devos has just described as proposed. Unfortunately, is now subjected to the sausage making of Congress, so please do what you can to support it. Remember that politics is like a baby, insatiable appetite for what goes in, but no responsibility for what comes out. That's good. Applause for the jokes, that's great. For 20 years, Parents Challenge has worked hard to enrich the lives of 2,400 underserved youngsters the system has left behind. Our goal, however, is to go out of business and do so because public schools do such a good job that parents no longer need us. But until that happy day arrives, and with your help, support, and appropriate attention to the envelopes that are on your table, we will remain steadfast in our commitment to empower the powerless. Thanks again to all of you for being a part of this exciting journey. A special thanks to Betsy Devos, a true servant leader who has honored us by being here and who continues to give hope to our nation that future generations will have access to quality education. Betsy, you inspire and motivate us with your courage and with your strength of purpose. We salute and admire and appreciate you. God bless you, Dick, your family, and God bless the United States of America. Thank you.
enjoy it.